Welcome to Native Talk Arizona, Native Health's Native American Cultural Affairs program, presented by Native Health and KRDP 90.7 FM. I'm Susan Levy. In the studio with us today is Dr. Thana Boyd. She's a registered dental hygienist. She's my dental hygienist. She's awesome. And she's going to tell us about Native Health dental programs. And we now have dental clinics at 3 of our locations.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am Dr. Thana Boyd. I am the dental hygienist here at Native Health Central, and I will be going to all 3 clinics.
That's pretty exciting. All right, so tell me first, I always get my teeth cleaned by you, and fortunately, I don't have to do a lot of other services for dental, thank goodness. But what services are available if people need them?
As far as dental service?
Yeah, for dental. So is it cleanings or fillings or crowns or bridges?
Oh, we see a variety of everybody. We go from pediatrics to geriatrics. We see everybody. We start out with complete exams first, and then we go on to the complete exam. Also involves x-rays and a perio exam, and doctor will make up a treatment plan. And we go from there, and we offer cleanings, deep cleanings, regular cleanings, child cleanings. And we do offer fillings. We offer crowns, bridges, partials, dentures, some root canals, some extractions. That's what
Sounds a little painful. All right. I'm going to start with the pediatric part. So the pediatric part, and I don't know if this is still current practice. So are you supposed to bring your child in or your baby in when they have their first tooth or
Correct.
Before their first tooth?
Correct. Usually with their first tooth, when it starts to come out, that way we can give them a fluoride varnish and at least get the baby used to coming to dental appointments.
So if they're do you wipe the baby's first tooth with gauze? At one point I remember them saying that you would take a piece of gauze and wipe the one tooth after whether they were breastfed or bottle fed. Is that still true?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And then do you brush the one tooth?
Yes, they have these finger cots that have little bristles at the end, so mom or dad can use that, or older siblings can use that to brush a baby's teeth.
Okay. And then how often do babies come? Do they come twice a year?
Every 6 months.
Okay.
Just everybody every 6 months.
So you start when they're babies, when the first tooth erupts, and then you bring them in every 6 months.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And then you said you go all the way to geriatrics.
Yes.
And so if you have teeth or no teeth, can you come?
No teeth, yeah. We do everything.
Okay.
So when we do an x-ray on a person with no teeth, we do a big x-ray that goes around your head called a panoramic x-ray.
Okay, so you can do a pano then. And then I know that there's a much higher increase or incidence of oral cancer. And do you also do oral cancer screenings?
We do, yes. Every time you come in, we do oral cancer screenings.
I know. I mean, I have some personal friends who've lately, within the last couple months, have been diagnosed with that.
Oh,
so,
no.
Yeah. Pretty advanced too. All right, so you do the crowns, the bridges, the root canals, cleanings, fillings, everything.
Everything.
Okay.
If it's something we can't do, then we'll certainly go and refer out.
Okay. So I know the things that we typically don't do. We don't do orthodontics.
No, we don't.
And then do we do any whitening?
No whitening.
Okay. And extractions?
It depends. If
Okay.
they're third molar impacted, we send those to an oral surgeon. Sometimes we'll do, the orthodontist will send children to us and take out some simple teeth. So the doctors know here what is in their scope of practice. And if they can't do it, then we certainly refer out to an oral surgeon.
Okay. So I know we've got 3 dental clinics. I'm so excited. The newest one's Mesa. We're going to talk about that. So we have the Native Health Central, which is at Central and Indian School in Phoenix. And do we have anything different at Central than we do at our Dunlap or West location or our Mesa? I know there's some different equipment up at Dunlap.
So what we have here is the Serac machine, which is a crown making machine.
At Central?
At Central here. And
what's
Central,
it called?
It's called a Serac machine or milling machine. We can make crowns in-house. So it's housed here at the Native Health Central. And the Dunlap location, they have a prime scanner where they can scan, and it sends the scanner to here to Central where the crown is made.
Wow. So that's really super high tech.
Yes.
And then you get the crown made here, and then it's taken to
And we deliver it, yeah.
You deliver it up there, and then it's called, is it seeding it?
Yes,
is that what
seeding
it's
a
called?
crown. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that still sounds painful. Okay, and then I know we just opened the clinic at Mesa like this week, so it's super exciting. Same scope of work, pediatric and adult.
Yes, everybody.
Anything different over there?
So all the clinics are beautiful, but Mesa
that
Clinic
goes without saying.
Yes, Mesa Clinic is a really beautiful clinic. So we started a school program. The portable
portable dental program.
The portable dental program.
Yep.
So we are seeing a lot of the Tempe school districts and hopefully opening it to Mesa School. And we're going to start referring our children there for care if they need something more than cleanings. For example, if they need extractions or fillings.
So I know with that program, with the Tempe Elementary School District, you've been going into the schools prearranged, and the parents know they're coming, and they've signed the consent forms, and then you see the children, correct?
Correct.
And you do an exam,
X-rays,
and then a cleaning, right?
And then fluoride varnish if they hadn't had a fluoride varnish in 6 months. And we usually we contact the parent after we're completed. We contact the parent. We make every effort to get the parent to bring their child in if they need some fillings.
So great program. A lot easier for parents that are working, can't get off work. The children are probably better behaved.
Oh, yes.
Because they're not with their parents. and then they can get it all done and then bring them to one of the clinics if they need additional services.
Yes.
All right, so let's talk about fluoride varnish. So that is for who? Is that for under 18 or under 13, or how does that work?
It's mostly for children, and we do put it on some adults who have a lot of dental issues like cavities.
That would be me.
Yeah. And sometimes we give it to our geriatric patients too. And it works really well, especially for the children.
What's a child? Like for fluoride, is it like under 8 or under 10 or 12 or is it?
We do fluoride under 18 and sometimes under 21. It just depends.
Okay. And that's just like something you brush on, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then it just sits there and then it hardens or whatever?
Yeah, it gets really sticky on your teeth and it just stays there. So we ask them to not brush till 6 hours.
Okay.
So they leave it on for a good 6 hours.
Okay. And then what's the difference between that? Are sealants still done or is that technology?
No, sealants are still done. It's a covering over your teeth and it helps to prevent decay in future. For like healthy molars, you put sealants on the molars.
All right. Molars are important. All right. So we're going to talk about each of the 3 clinics. At the west location or the one off Dunlap and 22nd Avenue, how many operatories are there? This is a quiz.
We have 4 dental operatories that are open and we have 2 that are closed.
So what's the difference between an open and a closed operatory?
So the open operatories are for people who are able to handle just being in an open area. The closed operatories, it could be for children who are crying. We usually have the parent with us in the room, so that way it doesn't disrupt care for people who are in the open operatories. Or it could be for
you mean like a screaming child?
Yes, for a screaming child, and also for maybe an adult who just doesn't like to be in an environment where it's open. I mean, you can't see each other, but sometimes adults just prefer the privacy.
Okay. All right, so you've got, what did you say, 4
open
and 2 closed?
Yes.
Okay, now I know it's central because that's where we are. We have how many? And they're all open?
Yes,
5?
we have 6.
Okay, 6 operatories here. And then Mesa has how many?
It's 4 also for open operatories and 2 closed.
Okay. And so is it pretty easy to get in? I know, people will often call and they have a toothache or they're in pain. Is it easy to get an appointment? Like, do we have emergency appointments open still?
Yes, we do. We try not to turn anybody away because, dental pain I just couldn't deal with turning anybody away.
Oh, you can't sleep. You can't do anything.
Yeah, so we try not to do that. We try our best to even just take an x-ray and diagnose from there, or the doctors do that. So we try to at least get them in and give them some type of...
Kind of triage a little bit?
Yes.
Okay, so if they're coming in, you're open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5.
Yes.
And emergencies, you can walk in
We try to do it between 8 and 10 and 1 and 3.
Okay.
Sometimes that's just not possible, though, but we try every effort to squeeze somebody in.
And do you have, we only have a couple minutes, so do you have like a very favorite, like when you lay in bed at night, do you have like a favorite success story or somehow you made a difference that day or in your career?
Gosh, yes. So I saw a little old geriatric patient. He only had 2 teeth, and this was a few years ago. And he came in, he was cold and he was hungry and he didn't bring his dentures. So I gave him my yogurt because I knew he was hungry. I gave him my yogurt and I made him some hot tea to go. And it seems like every single appointment he comes in, he is just so thankful for that. And he's turning 95 this year. So I just saw him the other day and he reminded me, I saw him first. It's been almost 10 years since I've been here. So I remember
when you started.
Yeah. So it's been almost 10 years and he keeps bringing that up. So I just really enjoy that. Makes me feel good.
But you make a difference. You know, people love you. You're care, you're kind, you're patient.
Thank you.
You have a gentle touch.
Keep going.
I can vouch for that. You're pretty awesome. All right. If people are interested in making an appointment, they would just call 602-279-5262 and ask for dental, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And they can make an appointment for any one of the 3 locations?
Yes.
Okay. Dr. Boyd, thank you for coming in. I cannot tell you how much we appreciate it. And the dental clinics are beautiful. So you've done a great job.
Thank you. Thank you. I couldn't do it without everybody. Thank you so much.
Coming up next on Native Talk Arizona, we'll discuss Human Trafficking Month with Brooke Davis, Native Health Behavioral Health, Case Manager, Domestic Violence Prevention, and Education. Support for KRDP 90.7 FM comes in part from Native Health, with 2 locations in Phoenix, 4041 North Central Avenue, Building C, near the corner of Central Avenue and Indian School Road, and at 8800 North 22nd Avenue. Native Health is also located in Mesa at 777 West Southern Avenue, near the corner of Southern Avenue and Extension Road. And Native Health provides primary medical services at the new Guadalupe Health Center, 6725 South Priest Drive in Guadalupe. Native Health provides primary medical, dental, behavioral health, WIC, and wellness services for the urban Native American community. For more information, call 602-279-5262 or visit our webpage at nativehealthphoenix.org.
Welcome back to Native Talk Arizona, Native Health's Native American Cultural Affairs program, presented by Native Health and KRDP 90.7 FM. And I'm Susan Levy, and with us today in the studio is Brooke Davis, and she is Native Health's Behavioral Health Case Manager, specializing in domestic violence prevention and education. And we know that January is also Human Trafficking Awareness Month. Mm-hmm. So, Brooke, welcome to Native Talk Arizona again. Glad to have you here.
Yeah, it's good to be back. I'm very happy to be here and kind of talk about, the importance of Human Trafficking Awareness Month. I think that this is really important, especially with, ongoing concerns with domestic violence, sexual violence, and missing murdered Indigenous relatives.
All right, before we get started, for people that have not heard your previous segments, tell us a little bit about yourself, your journey, and how did you end up at Native Health, which I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah, so my name is Brooke Davis. I use she, her pronouns. I am a member of the Navajo Nation, and I work at Native Health. Before coming to Native Health, I worked in domestic and sexual violence prevention for about 3 to 4 years. But at a college level. So I worked at Northern Arizona University as the Sexual Assault and Relationship Violence Graduate Service Assistant. So I used to do a lot of work with college students on healthy relationships, consent, and also monthly campaign or awareness campaigns for domestic and sexual violence, stalking, healthy relationships, and so on. And so I really just felt passionate in doing prevention work, but I also wanted to learn a bit more about direct services and kind of working a bit more closely with survivors and kind of being like that frontline person in providing support in their healing journey.
Well, I'm so glad you're here. You've done a lot of great stuff since you've been on site, and I know you've worked with a lot of people. So we just talked about January is Human Trafficking Awareness Month. So for people that aren't familiar, what is trafficking?
Yeah, so human trafficking or trafficking is the use of force, fraud, or coercion to compel a person to provide labor, services, or commercial sex against their will. It often begins subtly with trafficking, offering help, love, or even a sense of belonging to an individual, rather than, using direct or outright violence. And I think I just want to highlight that trafficking can occur anywhere, including within a person's community or even in their own family sometimes, and that, it can affect anyone. But individuals who are experiencing poverty, homelessness, housing insecurity, chemical dependency, or even addiction, or even discrimination are at a higher risk of, experiencing trafficking.
Men and women?
Yes.
Okay. All ages?
Yes.
So it doesn't matter?
Does not matter.
Okay. And so let's start with the sober living crisis, which I've always called as trafficking.
Yes.
I don't know, not everybody calls it that, but is that still occurring in the community?
Unfortunately, it is still happening. And for those who aren't familiar, the sober living crisis, I would also say is also a human trafficking crisis. It refers to homes that are not licensed, unsafe, or ran by people who exploit vulnerable residents. And trafficking, again, as I mentioned, targets individuals who are struggling with chemical dependency or substance use, mental health challenges, or unstable housing. And often those individuals were promised help, a place to stay and support in their recovery journey. But once individuals enter those homes, they may be pressured to provide personal information, sign up for programs without consent, or isolated from family or friends. And in some cases were transported to, communities that they weren't familiar with in unmarked vans, intoxicated, and even left stranded with no way to get home to their communities. And I think with the sober living crisis, these homes often operated in cities or, communities off reservations, taking advantage of, those individuals being away from their community, and, exploited by through fraudulent Medicaid billing schemes. And so I would say this is a human trafficking crisis. And, although there's been, great efforts made by advocates and, tribal leaders and state authorities, it's still an ongoing thing. But hopefully we're able to, address this through Native Health and also through more advocacy work.
It's definitely still occurring. Yeah. I mean, I know in the last couple of days we've even seen a bunch of people.
Most definitely.
So, and rather than, I always say trafficking rather than sober living crisis, because I truly believe it is a trafficking issue.
Most definitely. And I feel that the numbers have been increasing. And, fortunately, there's been more awareness in our community about what human trafficking is and what it looks like. And more folks are being aware of, what signs are being shown and, how survivors are, showing signs of trafficking.
All right, so let's talk about different types of trafficking. So let's go back to that. Can you again mention what kind of different types of trafficking there are?
For human trafficking, there are two ways of trafficking. The first is sex trafficking, and this typically refers to individuals who are forced, tricked, or threatened into performing commercial sexual acts for money or other benefits. The second is labor trafficking. So this is when an individual is forced or tricked into work or providing services, often under threats, abuse, or extreme debt, and cannot leave. With labor threats, it typically starts with like a job offer and then turns into something that they cannot leave. And then, there is additional threats and coercion being made through labor trafficking.
So how would somebody know if they're being trafficked? Again, like I guess with sex trafficking, would you know? I'm assuming you would know if somebody said, hey, you want to go do this, or I'll pay you, or I don't even know. Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of times for folks, who are tricked or, coerced into trafficking, a lot of times, they're manipulated through promises of care, financial support, or a sense of belonging. And so sometimes it takes a while for them to even realize that they're in a situation of trafficking until, they learn about the signs or, they've experienced something traumatic from trafficking. But most often, I think some common signs for folks to think about if they, have experienced trafficking or currently are experiencing trafficking is losing control over their home, money, daily routine, being isolated from family, friends, their community, being pressured or threatened to work or perform something that they don't want to, and even being moved or abandoned frequently in places that, they've never really been to or have no connection to. And I just want to highlight that with human trafficking, traffickers often exploit vulnerabilities and manipulate trust. So many victims don't recognize that they're being trafficked until they're out of the situation.
What about kids?
For kids,
Trafficking for children too?
Most definitely. Those are also common signs. But I think it's really important for folks, who are in a community and to be able to recognize the signs of trafficking. So knowing and seeing like a sense of shyness, or what might be shyness. It's honestly just a fear of, being socializing with others, or, fear of if they were to socialize with someone, there's going to be repercussions. And also, just being surrounded and, monitored by someone frequently. And I think that's most common for, minors who are involved or being sex trafficked.
If someone thinks they're being trafficked, is it likely they are?
I would say yes. I would always, encourage folks in that situation, or even just, bystanders in that situation. Unfortunately, sometimes you need to assume the worst to prioritize that person's safety. So the worst thing that would happen is no one's being trafficked, but at least, that there's support available, and that, we're still checking in on this person, like, being a good relative and making sure that they're doing well.
Okay, so if you think you're being trafficked, or you think somebody is, what should they do? Do they take notes? Do they call the police? Do they call Native Health? What's the best thing to do?
So I will say, first and foremost, making sure that individual's safety is being prioritized. Sometimes leaving or trying to leave a trafficking situation can sometimes increase the harm or likelihood of violence occurring. And so it's important, again, to kind of like what we talked about with the stalking, trusting your instincts and, kind of planning carefully of what your next steps might be. For folks, who, recognize that they are being trafficked and are wanting to leave, take time to, identify safe places, safe individuals, and even exits before acting and wanting or trying to leave. And so those might be, getting connected with hotlines, getting connected with advocacy programs or medical providers that are able to assist and get you connected to safe places. So, for example, the National Human Trafficking Hotline that you can text or call would be able to provide you with resources and even safety planning. But if there's immediate danger, please call 911. And for folks, who have concerns about trafficking, on the National Human Trafficking Hotline website, there's information that you can, or there's a page where you can, make a note of trafficking and make a report, and those individuals can follow up if you have information. You can also make a report to the police department, but it just helps, like, in that process, you're documenting as much as you can what this individual was wearing, physical characteristics, just so that you have as much information to provide to folks that are wanting to help that individual.
Okay. So and then do you ever help with that at Native Health too?
Yes.
So if somebody thinks that they're being trafficked, then they could call, or if they have an appointment here, they could ask to speak with you during the appointment and come up and get some help, and you would be able to assist with that.
Yes. If you, let's say, you have an appointment with a counselor or maybe even a doctor or nurse, you can, disclose that you're wanting to speak with someone, you have concerns that you're being trafficked and would like to speak to someone. I would get flagged and come down to speak with you. But let's say, you have a phone and you're able to call Native Health. We're able to get you assistance through mobile advocacy, where I would travel to you and, get information and help you file a report if, the situation is deemed safe.
So, Brooke, in your experience, I know that you've been doing this for a while. Mm-hmm. Have you seen like just random people trafficking people and or family members trafficking relatives? Have you seen both or one more than the other?
Yeah, I guess in my professional experience, a lot of the situations involving human trafficking have been where the perpetrator or the trafficker has been a stranger, and this individual has fled, out of safety, and fleeing for safety concerns. And it was a little difficult, beginning the process for reporting because they don't have this individual's name. They barely saw this individual. They can only, go based off of, things that they remember. So maybe like a tattoo that they've seen or, certain physical characteristics. But it was a little difficult, kind of assisting in that legal sense. But through Native Health and other programs I've been involved in, it's been primarily getting them connected with resources, emergency shelters, and also like ongoing support in their healing journey with, support groups, counseling, and so on. But I do know in rural communities and, other places, a lot of times, there, again, as I mentioned, human trafficking can affect anyone, and it can happen in our own communities. It can, be done in our own family. And some folks, may experience some barriers with reporting, maybe fear of, getting a family member reported on and having them charged with trafficking. It could also, having fear of not being believed by their community. And so I would just kind of remind folks that it's really important when someone in our community comes and discloses their experience that we believe them, we support them, and that we try our best to get them connected to services. And with that, I always like to highlight the National Human Trafficking Hotline. I think they provide really wonderful services and, getting them connected with things locally and also assisting, again, with like the ongoing healing journey, because trafficking is not only pervasive, but it's life-changing. It impacts their way that they see the world and the way that they interact with others.
How would you reach the hotline?
So the hotline has a number. The National Human Trafficking Hotline is 888-373-7888, or you can text HELP to 233-733. And on their website, humantraffickinghotline.org, there's an online chat where you can message someone, an advocate, and they'll help you get connected with confidential trauma-informed support.
And I assume there's like some kind of escape button.
Yes.
If somebody walks in.
Yes.
Kind of like domestic violence that you could just, it'll automatically take it off. Okay.
Yeah. And then they also have a map where if you put in your zip code or the city or state that you're in, they'll also find localized services for you that where you'll automatically get connected with an advocate there.
It's a little scary to think that, somebody in your family would do that.
Yeah.
Or somebody that you know.
Right. But again, it's important for, our community not only to be vigilant, but also, finding ways that we can support each other, even if we're, not providing direct services like case management or mobile advocacy.
Okay, and if somebody wanted to reach you?
They can call Native Health at 602-279-5262 and call for Brooke Davis at extension 12012.
And then you'd be able to help them with trafficking or whatever they need.
Yes.
Okay. Brooke, thank you so much for coming on.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Up next, Susan Levy chats with Lynn Traylor, artist and owner of Auntie Creations. Support for KRDP 90.7 FM comes in part from Native Health, with 2 locations in Phoenix, 4041 North Central Avenue, Building C, near the corner of Central Avenue and Indian School Road, and at 8800 North 22nd Avenue. Native Health is also located in Mesa at 777 West Southern Avenue, near the corner of Southern Avenue and Extension Road. And Native Health provides primary medical services at the new Guadalupe Health Center, 6725 South Priest Drive in Guadalupe. Native Health's patient enrollment specialist can help you enroll, renew, or update your access information. This can be done in person, on the phone, or via Zoom. It's fast, easy, and can make a difference in keeping your health care coverage. For more information, call 602-285-9492.
Welcome back to Native Talk Arizona, Native Health's Native American Cultural Affairs program, presented by Native Health and KRDP 90.7 FM. I'm Susan Levy, and today on the phone with us is Lynn Traylor, artist and owner of Auntie Creations. And Lynn, welcome to Native Talk Arizona.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited. I have been checking out your stuff, and it is it's beautiful. You are really, really talented. But tell us a little bit about yourself, your journey, and how did you get started in all of this?
Oh, thank you so much. Well, my name is Lynn Traylor. I am Dene, and as a Navajo, obviously I have to introduce myself by my clans because that's how we identify ourselves. I am Hushlishni, born for Twachitni. Ashchia are my Nele, and Ashchia are my Che. I'm originally from Black House Valley, New Mexico, and I've been residing in Tempe, Arizona for the time being. So this is where I've been.
Awesome. All right. So tell us a little bit, what is Auntie Creations? How'd you come up with the name? What does it mean?
That is such a good question. Well, I've been I've been doing art for a while now. Since I was a kid, my father taught me how to bead, and I've been doing that type of work since I was a child, not to mention like a little bit of mixed media, painting, sculpture, just general type of artistry. And I didn't really get it back into my creative art side until I want to say I was an adult again, and I was working in an office that was pretty hectic and pretty stressful. And so I got back into art as a creative outlet for myself and really began exploring that more. And so when I started to establish myself as an artist, I needed a name. I needed something that would reflect the type of art that I do, but at the same time, just, be something that's catchy. And my niece and my daughter and I we came up with Auntie Creations, because my niece would say, like, Auntie, you're so creative, you're doing this stuff. And then my daughter would do the same thing. But I'd like to say I'm the favorite for my nieces and nephews as their favorite auntie, but I don't know. But they come to me a lot for, just chit chat advice. They'll come to my home. I welcome them to my home. And so they know that I do a lot of art and creativity, and so they ask me a lot for advice or how they should do something as far as their creativity is concerned to try to explore that. And so we came up with the name Auntie Creations.
It's a good name and it's a good story, and I'm sure you're their favorite auntie.
I hope so.
So when did you come up with the name Auntie Creations or begin this?
I began actually selling art and being a selling artist, I want to say, in 2019.
Okay. All right. And then did clothing design play like a role in your childhood? Did you do like dress up or dolls and make clothing for them? Or how did you get started in that?
Yes. My younger sister and I, because we grew up on the reservation, and we were probably the only two girls in our area where we lived. We lived pretty far from the main community area, and so my sister and I spent a lot of time together. And so we would play dress up a lot, and we'd have Barbies. We would make clothes for our Barbies. And over time, it began to be more of an art form for cultural regalia, our traditional skirts, as well as our powwow outfits, our powwow regalia. We were initiated to dance when we were children, and we would make our own shawls. We would make our own outfits that we would dance in. And then it just kind of evolved and began from there. So it's always been something that I've been interested in or that I've done. And that's just kind of how I started to develop that more that you see now, like you see on my website or you see it on my Instagram.
I've never seen any indigenous Barbie clothing. Have you?
No, not like retail stores or anything, but I have seen like other people make things for their dolls or their Barbies in that way. I know like many, many years ago, there was Navajo Barbie,
Really?
was a Navajo Barbie at one point. Yeah, I remember it may have been like in the like early 2000s. I recall there used to be a Navajo Barbie.
I hope it's still
Yeah,
around.
I know. I mean, maybe someone has it as a collector's item, but I never got one. I wanted one.
Okay. All right. That was just an aside. All right. So you went from designing clothing, and then how did you get into hats?
Well, that is another great question because when I started beading, like as an adult again in the 2018, I started beading on hats, and I would source my hats from other companies like GG Pip, Stetson, things like that. But I was spending so much money buying these pieces, and I thought, why not just eliminate the middleman instead of buying from these large companies? Why don't I just try making something that's authentically indigenous? And so I taught myself how to make hats, and it just evolved from there. You know, a lot of trial and error on how to block hats, shape hats, and make them to what you see on my website, on my models. So it just became something that I decided to do, to make a piece that's authentically indigenous from very start to finish.
Okay. So I don't know anything about hat making, but I'm going to bet it's kind of difficult because they're beautiful and they look seamless. Is that true?
It is. It's an art form, and no one really, like, you don't know when you see a hat that someone is wearing the type of work and craftsmanship that goes into that particular piece. There is a whole process. When I start making these hats, they come from these what we call cape lines. They're kind of these flimsy pieces of fur felt, wool, rabbit, or beaver, and then you block them on these molds that are shaped out like heads in different sizes, and it's a lot of manipulating the material, blocking it, setting it, letting it dry, and then once you do that, you still have to sand it to make it smooth. Even after that's done, it's curating with fire to really set these pieces so they're nice and stiff and they can hold the shape that they have. And then once that's done, it's just brushing it, adding a leather sweatband liner, and then putting a satin liner on the inside so your hair doesn't get staticky from the hats. There's a whole process. It can take a couple of weeks to make one particular hat, depending on how stiff you want to make it and how sturdy you need it to be. So it's a whole art form that people don't see behind the scenes. They just see a hat, but there's a whole art form that goes into making a hat.
Oh my gosh, I had no idea. I thought it was just, well, one, I didn't know you were making the hats. I thought you were probably just buying them and doing that. I know you said a couple weeks to make one, but all told, if you put all that time together, is it like 30 or 40 hours to make one hat?
It's a little bit less than that because I don't do it all day, every day, 24/7. I want to say maybe about an actual time to work with a hat, maybe like 6 to 7 days.
Wow, that's a lot.
It is. It's a lot of work that gets put into each piece. That's what makes them so unique and so valuable.
And then I saw in some of them you bead on the brim, I guess, the edges. I'm not sure the right term.
That is correct. The brim is the flat part that you see on the hat, and the top part where your head goes is called the crown.
Okay.
So there's two different parts of the hat, and I do the artwork on them as well.
So you make the hat, and again, sorry, I don't know very much about hats at all. And you kind of look at it and you go, "Wow, I think I would like to do this design on it," and you lay it out. Is that the process?
Yeah. Absolutely. I'll make a bunch of these hats, and some of them I decide I want to put some type of artwork on them, and that's where the beadwork comes in, or that's where the painting comes in. I've also been using a lot of different textures. I've been using metal, wire, sterling silver, and copper as part of my art, and I've been manipulating those pieces and adding them to my hats as well. So I just decide if that's the piece, that's the type of hat I want, like different colors on, or I want to put some beadwork on, and then I'll work out a design, and then I'll start creating the piece from there. So it's pretty fun, actually, because you can be so creative because they're just blank canvases, basically.
And they're beautiful.
Thank
so
you.
on the beading on the brim, that to me on some of your pieces, like I said, I think they're absolutely gorgeous. But that would take a long time because you had designs that were really intricate and
I
patterns, not just random colors. It was like, whatever color you were doing kind of was blocked by that.
I appreciate that. And yes, they do take some time. Over time, I feel like I've gotten a handle on how quickly I can do a certain design, but some days it just doesn't work out like that. I'll mess up and I'll have to take it out and do it over. But it does take time. I want to say it takes 2, 3 weeks sometimes to do a design on a hat. And there are some other hats where I'm actually beaded on top of the brim and you can see them on the bottom as well. Those take a little bit longer because I'm trying to align each of those beads with the bottom so it looks seamless and you won't be able to see any type of threading. So those take a lot longer. I have one hat, it took me about 200 hours from counting the time that I did the work on it, about 200 hours that I put into that one piece. And I've had one that took me 3 months.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So
And,
it varies.
did you say, are you still working full time and doing this as your
I do.
creative?
Yes, I do. I have a full-time job, and then this is something I do like after hours
Oh my
on the
gosh.
weekends when I have some free time. Like I'll come home, do things with my family, help my son with his homework, make dinner if I need to, things like that, and then get into a creative outlet. I feel like I find the best time to work when people are asleep in my home. So as soon as my son goes to bed, I'm right back in my little studio and I'm working.
Wow. Okay. All right. So that's a lot. Um,
It is.
so one of the questions that I had for you was how you incorporate your Indigenous background into your clothing and hats. I think it's obvious if anybody looks at your website and your social media how you do that. But is there anything you want to add to that?
Well, I come from a family of weavers. My grandmother, when she was alive, she was a weaver. My aunties, my mom, some of my cousins, they're all weavers. So a lot of my creative ideas or my outlets come from the type of designs I used to see my grandma do or my mom or my aunties. So I tend to gravitate toward geometrical patterns because of how I was raised and what I saw growing up. And so a lot of my pieces are mostly geometrical like that. And I use a lot of rug designs or ideas that I had growing up about rugs, particularly the Two Gray Hills style of rug weaving into my designs. And so you see that a lot in my work that I have, especially my really large piece that I won first place for at the Heard Museum a couple of years ago. That particularly was based off of rug designs, not just Two Gray Hill style, but throughout our Navajo Nation, different rug designs from different regions of our reservation.
Wow, you are definitely creative. I don't know what your other job is, but you are a true artist. Um,
Thank you. I appreciate that.
that's amazing. All right. So, do you have like a special message that you hope to spread through your designs? I mean, do you hope that if somebody purchases your hat or some of your beautiful clothing, that you want them to feel special in it, or your background or heritage? Anything that you hope they get out of it?
I hope when people purchase a piece from me, they're seeing the type of craftsmanship and creativity that I carry, particularly because, like I said, a lot of my artwork comes from me as a child and it just kind of evolved. But at the same time, when I use a lot of our geometrical patterns or rug designs in my work, that's me putting out that I'm a Dene woman. This is the type of art that I can create. And I hope in some way that can inspire other people, youth, to explore their creativity in some way. And I do work with youth on different occasions to explore their beading and their creativity. I work with a group in California with a Native media team, and we teach kids how to bead. That's something I'd hope people get from my work.
Well, you are an awesome, amazing, inspiring woman.
Thank you.
Do you find that since you've been doing this, I know you said since like about 2019, has your work evolved? Have you seen it change over the years?
It really has. It has evolved. I've looked at a lot of different photographs from when I first started to what I'm doing now, particularly because I'm making each piece from start to finish. I'm making the hats entirely. I'm sewing in the sweat liners. I'm doing the artwork, the beadwork, feather work on each of my pieces. So my work really has evolved throughout the years. And actually doing fashion has been something different from when I was younger, just playing with my younger sister, to actually having a collection that's out now, where I was a part of a fashion show in Santa Fe during the Santa Fe Indian Market. So it's really evolved for me, and I'm pleased with the way that I'm growing. And I know that there's only so much more to learn and so much more to grow from the type of art that I'm doing.
All I can say is, wow. I mean, listen to the places that you've been, the Herd and the Santa Fe Market. That's the cream of the crop. Pretty impressive.
It's been a fun journey for sure.
Now that since you've done that, what are you thinking you're going to do for the future? Are you thinking what's bigger or better, or maybe not bigger or better, but different, or that you want to do?
I think I want to explore and get my artwork out into a larger market, not just an indigenous side of my market, but to a lot of different people, because my art is for everybody. I would love for all types of people to wear my pieces. So I think the next journey and the next step for myself is to keep flowing and evolve into those types of spaces. And hopefully I can tap into that type of market and have it be known in a much larger platform.
I hope that comes true for you. And it's like, let's put that out there, and, maybe New York Fashion Week or, Paris, that those designers listen to this, and it's out in the universe,
absolutely.
And that they pick it
up. I would love that.
and get that on their models and get that to a bigger audience. That's pretty amazing.
Absolutely.
All right. So we're almost out of time, but I wanted to find out what's the best way. I checked out your website and your social media. How would you recommend people look at your art and your beautiful designs? Do you recommend the website, social media, or both?
I recommend social media first. Go to my Instagram, Auntie Creations. That's the handle for my Instagram. And in my Instagram, there's a link to my website. It's auntiecreations.com.
Okay.
Either one of those, I'm more than willing to speak with someone, talk about my art, and you can review a lot of my other pieces that I have there as well.
And if somebody wanted a custom creation, do you do that?
I do. Most of my work is custom, actually.
Okay.
When it comes to the hat work, most of my work is custom. So it would be tailor-made to someone's particular head size, their design choice, color scheme. That is something I work with somebody for when they're going to purchase a piece from me.
Oh my gosh, I would love one of those. All right. Well, anyway, what message would you like to leave our listeners with before you give us again your website and your social media handle? Anything you want them to think about when they think about this interview or listen?
Well, one thing I'd like to say is that when I do make a piece for somebody, or I make new pieces, I like to send those pieces out with positive energy and positive outlook. So what I do for each of my pieces is I will bless them with cedar, and they will take their journey on to whoever purchases them and whatever their next journey would be. So beading and this type of artwork really is a form of medicine. And I'd like to just keep projecting something positive with the type of artwork that I do.
Wow, you are such a blessing. All right. Well, we're pretty much out of time. I wanted to find out, how can our listeners find more information about Auntie Creations, and how can they contact you? So again, what is your social media handle on Instagram and your website?
On Instagram, it's Auntie Creations, and my website is auntiecreations.com.
Okay, cool. And then I assume there's a contact me on the website? Or they could DM you on Instagram as well. Okay.
Yes, they're all the same. And I answer all of my messages. So someone, either myself or someone from my team, would answer those messages.
Okay. Lynn, thank you so much for coming on today. I encourage people to check out your website and your social media. Your work is absolutely beautiful, and we wish you the best of luck. And I am going to put it out in the universe that you'll be on New York Fashion Week or in Paris. So
thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to Native Talk Arizona, presented by Native Health and 90.7 FM KRDP. Our executive producer is Susan Levy. Sound engineer is Javier Quiroga. We hope you will tune in again next week. If you have any questions, please reach us at nativetalkaz@listen2krdp.com.